PREGAME.com.
Monday, January 2nd, bowl action, Penn State versus Houston. I'm Marco D'Angelo. I'm joined with Bryan Leonard. Bryan, this is an interesting bowl game for January 2nd. This would be a New Year's Day game, but obviously this year all the games being played on January 2nd. Penn State, I got to say, when does it end for this team this year? I mean, let's do a quick timeline of their year. They're rolling along. They lose their first loss of the season was to Alabama, no shame. They finally start getting the offense getting a little bit better. Their defense was solid all year. They're heading into the Nebraska game. A lot of hype for Nebraska since they joined the Big Ten, and for them Nebraska to travel all across country to go to Happy Valley. And then that's the week things weren't so happy in Happy Valley. That's the week the Jerry Sandusky, very sad situation, that story broke and took on a life of its own. And leading up to the Nebraska game ended up costing Joe Paterno, his job. They fired Joe. So the team's in total disarray. They play the Nebraska game. They play a very spirited game. They lose 17-14. Just total black eye for the university. Get through that. They go on the road and they beat Ohio State. With all the turmoil and everything that's going on at Penn State, beating Ohio State now puts them in a position when they play Wisconsin the next week, the winner of that game is going to go on and play for the Big Ten championship. So just when you start to see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel for Penn State, before they even play the Wisconsin game, people start talking, Penn State should decline a bowl invite before they even get there because of everything that happens. These kids had nothing to do with what happened several years ago. Why penalize them? But there was a lot of people that, Twitter fueled it and everything else. Penn State should not accept a bowl bid. They end up getting blown out at Wisconsin. So are they going to take a bowl bid or not? Well, they do. They take this bowl, a lesser bowl, but they're in a bowl. Going to make a statement, show pride for the university. What happens? 2 weeks ago, their quarterback gets in a fight with a teammate in the locker room, has a concussion. Doubtful for the game now. As I opened this up, it was a long monologue. But when does it end for Penn State?
It'll end after this game, one way or another. I guarantee that. This is a 9 a.m. Pacific game on January 2nd. I probably won't be watching this game.
Now, in the last video, you just said you don't go out on New Year's Eve.
Well, that's 2 days away. I'm not going to be hungover from my Diet Coke or whatever. I mean, yeah, they moved it back to January 2nd. But what's really, this all comes down to is, it's been said all along, when Houston's offense actually plays a defense and when Penn State's defense actually plays an offense. Penn State played a relatively easy schedule this year. Most of the better teams in the conference, either they didn't play or they had a down year offensively. Ohio State wasn't very good offensively.
Absolutely not.
There was probably only two teams with any type of passing game they played. Northwestern, I believe they gave up 24 to Northwestern, and then Wisconsin, I believe they gave up 45 to Wisconsin.
Yes.
So it's really telling, not for anything this year, something for next year that we could take a look at when they start playing teams that they can that pass the ball. You can take a look at this because they have plenty of time to prepare for this offense.
Right.
And you would think they do have higher quality athletes at Penn State than they do at Houston. But it'll be really interesting how they fare against this type of offense.
It's definitely
that Houston has.
Strength versus strength in this matchup. Or if you want to flip it around, weakness versus weakness. Yeah. So it works both ways. But Penn State, and again, we're in uncharted water because when was the last time that there was anybody on the sideline other than Joe Paterno? And Joe Paterno was one of the best bowl coaches there was. You give Joe Paterno time to prepare, he was the best at it. Now, is that something that it was him alone or him and his staff? This is still his staff. And, they've been there with Joe. Did they learn? So I got to think that the Penn State defense is going to find a way to slow this Houston offense down. And just looking at the total, I mean, the total was 57. You look at Houston totals, they're in the 70s,
Right.
and they're not in the low 70s. They're in mid to upper 70s, 76, 77 and a half, 75 and a half, 77, 73 in the conference championship game. And let's go to that conference championship game. Houston, yeah, they're playing, in Dallas, so, the state, the crowd's going to be in their favor. But is this team disappointed? Because they were one win away from going to a BCS Bowl, and we're talking multi-million-dollar payday for the university. And, I mean, there's no other way to say it. They crapped the bed in the Conference USA Championship game. Southern Miss took it to them. Did Southern Miss lay the blueprint for everybody else to follow now of how to stop this Houston team? Because that game was never close at all. I mean, Houston, that's the worst I saw the quarterback play all year in that game. And even though they ended up putting 28 points up, a lot of it was second half garbage points. The game was decided. What do you think their mindset is going into this game?
I looked at that, and I thought that would be a chance to really prove that they belonged when they could go into a bowl game and play maybe not a top-notch team this year, but a top-notch program in Penn State. And it was interesting because Penn State is in a similar situation. You mentioned it when they went into the Big Ten championship game. If they were able to beat Wisconsin, that puts everything else away because they're the Big Ten champions. And they failed pretty bad against a team that passes the football. So, this is a game. It's not going to be on my card. I mean, it's just one of these games where I don't know what to expect. And you've got the two weaknesses going against each other, the two strengths going against each other. It'll be an interesting handicap for something that you can use the following year. But it'll be something that be more to watch and learn than it is for anything that's going to help us on this game.
Well, whenever I have a game like this where, there's so many X factors, that we can make a case for both sides. I mean, and that's clearly what we're saying. I'm going to default to the dog, and especially if it's the better defense and it's the dog. It's in my DNA. It's old school handicapping, but it's right more than it's wrong with that. And I think Penn State, with the extra time to prepare, is going to find a way to handle this. And as far as the quarterback situation goes, he's listed as doubtful. He's not out. We still, we've got a few days before we get to Monday that possibly he can play. But let's not forget, Penn State played two quarterbacks for a good part of the season before they actually settled in on the other, the guy that got into the fight. So it's not like we're going, cold with a quarterback. He does have experience. So I'm going to go ahead, mild vote here. I'm going to go with Penn State. I see this as a game going right down to the wire, a 24-23 type game either way. I'll be bold. I'll go ahead and go out on a limb. Penn State 24-23. Take those points, and just for Penn State, maybe, finally put the season to rest and, try to show that the Penn State program is still there. Houston, it's, a statement game for them. I got to agree with you, Brian. This is a chance for them for redemption, but, they were so close to the brass ring to actually getting to be that small school that got to play on the national stage, because Boise State got screwed the last couple of years. TCU, it's chance for that mid-major, so to speak, as we like to say in basketball so much. But we'll see what happens on Monday, and they do definitely have the home field advantage, home neutral advantage with playing the game in Dallas. So you have it there. He's Bryan Leonard. I'm Marco D'Angelo. Be sure to check out all the videos at pregamevideos.com. We'll have a total of 8 videos in there this week from all of the guys. Check it out, and we'll be in there to talk and answer any questions that you have. Thanks for watching.